just softens. Welcome to my channel. My name is Carl. I'm a Bob Ross certified painting instructor. I thought today we'd do one of Bob's classics, Fisherman's Trail. It's the wood grain look, and we'll paint a nice mountain scene. So let's go up to the canvas. Up here we have a 16 by 20 canvas. I've covered it with a very thin coat of liquid clear. The liquid clear is wet, and then we're going to paint a little background color, and after that we'll go into some paint thinner, and I'll show you how to create the wood grain effect. I have my 1-inch brush, and we're going to go into a little bit of sap green and alizarin crimson, maybe even a little bit of dark sienna. Just a brownish, maybe red, but you can mix up whatever you'd like. And it's very important that we're doing long vertical strokes. We're going to create that illusion of wood grain. And you can do this with variations of colors. You could do kind of purples, maybe a wintry scene, blues. Have a lot of fun with it. So long strokes, and the more you blend, the softer it'll be. And remember, there's different variations in wood grain. So here we go. I'm just going to keep working this. The liquid clear's on there, and it'll allow the paint to blend and slide. Ooh, a little red flavor. Ooh, I like that little dark flavor there. You get to be creative and have fun. And this will be one of the rare times that I will use paint thinner. If you followed my channel, you know that I clean my brushes with baby oil, and I usually do not use paint thinner. Please make sure if you're using paint thinner that you use odorless. So I will be using a very little bit only for this portion of the painting. I think we are ready for the wood grain effect. So a little bit more up in the corner here. There. So I have my fan brush. I have paint thinner. Again, I don't usually use this, so I'm going to be very, very sparing with it. We're just going to take the fan brush and we're just going to start going down the canvas. And it has a reaction with the liquid clear. You can, ooh, look at that. You can kind of see it. And it starts, ooh, look at that. It starts really creating that effect with the liquid clear. And kind of vary your strokes. You know, wood grain isn't straight, so maybe we have some just variations in the grain structure. Gives it a unique look. There, just kind of, you do a little research on wood grain. And I've actually sold a few of these styles of painting, so if you're looking to paint something and make a little sale, it's certainly an option for you. Who knows, maybe the grain kind of goes off to the side here. I have a 1-inch brush, and you have to be very, very delicate, like a whisper, and just here and there. Any areas where I think maybe it's a little bit too bright, I might just soften it. Maybe in the corners a little bit, just a whisper. I can't tell you enough, it has to be so soft. And that'll just diffuse some of maybe the brightness. And then I'm going to go up just a little bit. Remember, we'll have our painting here. So maybe over here, just a little. So, and I'm just really kind of blending ever so slightly. So I've got my knife. Let's go into a little bit of black. We'll go into a little bit of Prussian blue. Maybe some Van Dyke brown. I'm just looking for a dark mountain mixture, some alizarin crimson, maybe a little bit of sap green. Now when we're painting on this particular canvas, we want to be very careful of the edges. I would like those to stay intact. I think that looks cool. Little roll of paint. And maybe we have just a little mountaintop. Remember, I'm looking for that top edge. Just scrubbing in color. And it's your world. You can put as many peaks as you'd like. Again, I don't want it to go too wide. Yeah, maybe something like that. And I'm going to scrub away as much of that color as possible. This had the brown mixture. I'm going to wipe it off. And again, very, very carefully. Just pull it out. Think of the flow of your mountain, the lay of the land. Remember, I'm leaving the side. I don't want to get too close to that. And we're just blending. And we'll have some trees here. Now remember, we normally have liquid white. So with liquid clear, we don't have the lightness of the white. So you want to be aware of that. So it'll definitely retain more of the color. In this case, kind of mixing with the brownish tones underneath. There. All right, so I have some titanium white, hint of bright red. Can't tell you enough, very little bit. And we're gonna go up there and let the canvas grab what it wants. There. Just let it flow. You know, just have some fun. Light pressure. And I'm going to go a little wider than the base, just so I have some light paint. That'll help with creating the mist. Now, if you notice mine there, because of, I think we have the paint thinner, and we have a lot of liquid clear on here, you know, it makes the base color a little bit slicker. So if you notice it kind of slid a bit before it grabbed the canvas, you can go back over it right on top. And look at that. We can still create that breaking snow. Just a little trick if you've noticed, but very, very light pressure. Just a little bit. We don't want to leave them out. Maybe back in that other corner, there's a little friend. Now let's mix up a shadow color. A little bit of phthalo blue, a little Prussian blue, and we'll go into some titanium white. Got a little carried away there, so let's take some fresh white. Here's a trick. I take some fresh white, go right next to it, and just grab a little bit of that color. There, and that's what I'm looking for. And maybe just a hint of black to kind of dull it. Let's give this color a try. So a little blade of the knife. That's what I like to use, especially on a smaller canvas. There. And remember, save some of that base color. I feel it creates more depth when you do. There, ooh, I like that. Now if you notice here, I'm gonna go right close. I'm gonna just pull a little roll of paint. And right here, I wanna leave a little bit of dark behind there because then that pushes this peak right out in front. Look at that. And you see that dark I left, the layering that it creates. The large edge. And just here, maybe we'll have some trees there, but I'm going to go a little below the base. And I do want this area, I'm going to go back into some of the highlights. I do want that to come a little bit lower. And let me show you a little trick, like right in here, you can take some of that mountain color. And just right in here, you can create the illusion of maybe there's some cliffs and things right there, and maybe a little bit of that blue mixture. And then we can finish it off with a little bit of white. Right next to it. And let's take a clean 1-inch brush and just very carefully, remember I don't want to go too close to the edge. We're just going to start blending just the base of the mountain, and then maybe on this side too. And not too close to that edge, and then we'll kind of soften. Pulling up, think of the lay of the land. So highlights were kind of flowing this way, shadows were flowing this way. And look at that, creates that soft, misty look right at the base. Let's take that mountain mixture here, kind of the base color, maybe a little bit of sap green, and maybe a hint of white, not too much, just a hint. Got my small fan brush. You could use the large fan brush. And we're going to load a lot of paint. I'm going to dip into a little bit of walnut oil just to thin it, because we're going to go over the mountain a bit. And let's start putting in some happy evergreen trees. So corner of the brush. Maybe this one has a friend. Corner of the brush. Just some happy trees. Now, if you paint on a bigger canvas, you could certainly use, you can use the large fan brush. Just because I'm using a 16 by 20 canvas, I go with usually the smaller of the options. I find it's a little easier with this size. Just kind of filling in details. And I kind of like that orange-brown glow back there. We wouldn't see a lot way in the distance, so who knows, maybe there's some things happening back there. There's a small little one. Just kind of overlooking this side. And remember, as you go lower, so it's going to pick up a little bit of the mountain mixture, but that's okay. And then it branches out a little bit. This one's just having a good time, watching out over the little trees. I am going to refine this one back here just a little bit. Just a little bit more detail there. There we go. Maybe just some indications back there. Oh, and by the way, if you're interested in any Bob Ross art supplies, you can check out my affiliate links in the description below. That does help me out a little bit. All right, let's give them right here. And you know what? We might cover one of the, or some of the trees, but that's okay. We learned how to do them. Let's give some big, powerful trees. Ooh, I like those ones. Right through there. And maybe it goes right down to there. And I see something. See that tree right there that I kind of covered? I'm actually going to make that one kind of come out just a little bit more. Maybe it's at an angle. Sometimes you see those things when you're painting. There, just a little tilt. And maybe there's one that's just sneaking around right here, just a little one. Again, don't go too close to the edge. kind of risking it there, but maybe it's kind of tilted the other way. Maybe we'll go, see how they're kind of close in size? We'll just vary it a little bit more. There we go. And let's shape in some water. So I'm going to go into a little bit of the phthalo blue. I don't want too much. We can always add, hard to take away. And let's go into this area here. I'm going to pull a little bit of this green color straight down. And we'll have some bushes come around here, but I'm going to go straight down. So I'm grabbing some of the color as well as I've added some of the phthalo blue. And we can create the illusion of a lake or pond back here. There. And let's go into a little bit of dark sienna, a little bit of Van Dyke brown, and some white. And let's mix up maybe a little bit more white. Maybe some trunks. Not a lot of detail. There, and what you can do is you can take your knife, just sharpen some of the tops. There. I have the fan brush that I painted the trees with. Go into a little bit of the cad yellow, and you'll notice when I mix in there, it'll turn a nice green color. Just some highlights, not too much. Very soft, not too much at all. Just some indications. By the way, I want to show you guys something real quick. One of my good friends, they got me Peapod Jr. So a little squirrel. So maybe I'll find a spot for Peapod Jr. to watch over me while we do paintings. I think Bob would approve of that. Okay, let's go to this side. Maybe we have corner of the brush. And then a little darker as you go down. We don't want to leave out this one here. We'll go into a little bit of the ochre. And then maybe down here we have some distant grasses. Look at that. And I'm pushing up. And maybe we can reflect a little bit into the water. Same color. Soft, just a little bit. And we'll work in layers. Let's leave that one there. And a little roll of paint from the white. And we'll cut in a little water line. Come across here and are a little bit brighter right under the tree. Oh, I like that. And leave some of that dark. And then I'm going to wipe that off actually. A little reflection down here. A whisper. Little roll of paint, little white. And let's cut in a little more of that water line. Kind of slides there. Just softens. Maybe we have a little bit out here. Look at that. And who knows, you could go in here and do some more highlights, add much more detail than I did. But this kind of gives you some indication how to do it. Let's take the brush that had the blue, a little bit more black, maybe some Van Dyke, maybe a hint of the blue. And let's push in some bushes. Again, be careful not to go too close to the edge. And all I want down here is just really some color, and I'm kind of shaping how the bushes are. So maybe they kind of come around down here. Probably the biggest challenge with this painting is trying to center your painting, but you can paint it however you want to. Now, just think of all the variations you can do with this style, with the background colors and the wood grain. So I have my 1-inch brush. I'm going to go into some walnut oil. And remember, you shouldn't have to put a lot of pressure. Work in layers. Look at that. Take your time. Change the flavor. Ooh, I like those ones. Rounded side up. Yeah, and let's put a path in here. So maybe we'll take a little bit of the Van Dyke Dark Sienna, and we'll just put in a little path. Just kind of think of where the path would go, and we'll meander it through here. There, that'll kind of diffuse it a little bit. And let's go in here just very soft. Think of how that path just will get a little wider as it comes towards us. Yeah, maybe it maneuvers back there, and we can take a little bit of the path or the bushes and just kind of shape it a little bit. And then we'll go back in with some of our highlights. All right, let's get back to the highlights. So the same brush. And if we go into a little bit of the blue, it makes it a little bit more of a vibrant green. And who knows, maybe we have some darker bushes. Yeah, maybe they kind of go out here. There. Maybe we'll put some over here too. In your world, you can put as many or as few as you'd like. And then what I see, maybe we'll add a few sparklers right on top. See that? Ooh, I like that. It gives it a kind of a two-tone flavor. See that? You can really have fun with it. Maybe add some depth to your bushes. And what I'm going to actually do is take the fan brush. Maybe there's some little indications of some grasses. Maybe down here in the foreground here, maybe we just have just some grasses that are grown into the path. Just adds a little bit more detail. And of course, you know me, we're going to go into a little bit more straight cad yellow. Bright highlights. Ooh, yes. Look at that, just the layers. You don't have to do this, but I think it adds depth to it. Gives it a little flair, maybe, ooh, yeah. Look at the variety. And remember, if you're having trouble making it stick, add a little bit of walnut oil, paint thinner. But look at the textures. And work in layers. There. I love painting bushes for sure. Then we'll take our knife and just add some indications of some sticks and twigs. And you can add even more details than what I did. But I think we have a finished painting, and I'm going to sign this. I really hope you enjoyed this wood grain painting. You should definitely give it a try. Check out my website at carlvaughnartistry.com. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. Happy painting. See you next time.